spray from Euro football start. Again, we're coming live from the beautiful Taksim Square in Istanbul. As you can see behind us, we're getting the Champions League Festival Parks currently being set up, and it's going to be fully operational by Thursday. Now, we've got a bit of a follow-on interview. When we were in Barcelona back in March and April of this year, we spoke with Katherine Griffiths all the way back in Brisbane in Australia, but I believe she was in Sydney on that day. And we spoke to Katherine about competing in Wales for karate. And we're just going to have a little bit of a follow-on call with Katherine just to see how she's going along with the training. And we've got some questions from our listeners and also from some of our female players as well. So I believe we've got Katherine on the line in Brisbane. Good afternoon, Katherine. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm really well. How are you?
Good, thank you, mate. Good, thank you. Thanks for joining us again. And yeah, as I say, we were looking forward to having a catch up with you just to see how things are going since we last spoke to you in March. So first question I'm going to ask you, how's training going since we last seen you? Are you starting to intensify up more? Are you doing more sessions or are you tapering off? Where are you at with your training?
It's definitely intensified. I think we're 12 weeks out now, so it's gotten very clinical. I know what I'm doing every day. It's all laid out. Schedule is down pat.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And also we last spoke to you around being self-funded and that we were looking for sponsorship for your journey across in August. Have we had any breakthroughs with sponsorship since we last spoke to you?
Yes, we have some very big ones, very, very big ones. Yeah, it's hard to explain the impact that it's had, to be honest. It's just completely changed the mindset, made everything so much easier, less stressful. Very, very, very grateful. As I said before, I've never had this opportunity before. So yeah, I can't tell you the difference that it's made.
That's amazing. Now, I believe when we last spoke to you, your goal or target was to try and reach $10,000. I won't ask who's donated or who's donated what amounts, but did we reach the 10,000 or did we not quite get there?
Yes, we did. I think we are currently sitting at just short of 16.
That is phenomenal. That's amazing to hear that we could hopefully, through our channels have helped a little bit as well, but it's a good show of support from the people in Australia to get those funds. So are you finding now that you've got that sponsorship in place, it's allowing you to relax and focus more on your training and not worry about the finances too much?
Oh, 100%. I honestly can't explain. It's completely changed the game. Not only am I less stressed, I can now do more in recovery, I can do more physio, more remedial massage. It's just a whole different level. So grateful for all of the help and all of the support.
That's amazing. Now, we've got some questions from some of our followers, and I'm just going to throw out some of these questions to you if you can help us with some of the answers. One of the questions we got from one of our female players down in Geelong in Victoria, she wants to know how you plan and organise your things like training, sleep, nutrition, and also how you record that. You record that on like an Excel spreadsheet, you use an app?
A couple of things, and I've gotten much better at this very recently. I've just invested in an Apple Watch, which has actually given me a few little surprises. I think if you're not tracking things like your steps properly, you probably almost do double what you think you do if you're just using your phone. So that's been really interesting. And also sleep's a big one for me, and one that I know that I need to focus on a lot. I'm a bit of a night owl, so this has just made me a little bit more compliant. It shows exactly how many hours I've slept, REM, deep sleep. It's actually been really interesting. I am also very visual, so I like to have my training plan all laid out on an Excel spreadsheet. I tried to do it on my phone, and I just find that I just don't use that calendar properly. So I had to go old school. Everything is in a calendar and everything is laid out day by day so that I can see it visually in front of me, and it seems to work really well for me.
That's amazing. And that's one of the things that we speak to, not just to our female athletes, but to the male athletes as well, is that, if you fail to prepare to fail. And that's one of the things that we do in our pro player pathway, is that we get them to be accountable and get them to start learning really early on that they need to be recording a lot of this information and sharing it back to us rather than us babysitting them with it. And that's a great one. Now, to follow on from that one, a little bit of for like your sessions and stuff and that. So you're saying like you've got your plans that are put down into Excel spreadsheets and that. But in regards to your karate, and is it very similar to tennis in a sense of how you're ranked, and how are you ranked for competitions, and how are you the number 12 seed or the number 1 seed when you go into karate? How does that work?
It doesn't really. So essentially, it's kind of luck of the draw.
Wow.
It's kind of crazy. You'll be given your draw on the day of competition, and you can be drawn against anyone. There's usually anywhere between around 40 to 50 people in each, well, in my division, for the kumite, which is the fighting element. And they just draw you. So what they normally do is have 2 pools. And for example, if there were 2 athletes from Australia, they would put you in the different pools. And then you're just luck of the draw.
Wow, that's amazing. That was a really good question. That was actually one of our female players up in Queensland, actually in Brisbane. And I thought that was a great question because that was one thing I've never actually thought of. But I think I actually prefer doing it that way. I think having it all is in a mixing pot. You just get drawn out and the look at the draw each time, because I think whether you're the best fighter or not necessarily the best, but if you deserve to win that competition across that weekend or that week, then you're going to be the winner anyway.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit tricky when you potentially have been second and you're drawn against the person who wins in the first round, but everyone's in the same boat, so you kind of just have to know that that's what it is, and it's always been that way, so we're kind of prepared.
That's amazing. Now, our next question comes all the way from Perth in Western Australia, and the question that we got asked was, in relation to yourself, the way you have to obviously balance work and training and being an athlete because you are self-funded, how does that work for you, and how do you find that balance, and how can our players relate that back to where some of our athletes are balancing school and balancing doing football? Can you maybe help some of our listeners with that one?
I think I'm super lucky in terms of my job. My job is quite flexible. It's very seasonal, so super focused and super concentrated in the first half of the year, which has fallen really nicely with Worlds, because it means now that I'm 12 weeks out, the travel's kind of stopped for work for me, which is really good. When I was at school, to be honest, I 100% relied on my mum. I think we spoke about this last time. She was my taxi. But I think you have to remember to be kind to mum or dad or whoever it is that is dragging you out of bed early in the morning to enable you to do what you want to do. And I think balance is really important. But I've always said the more active you stay, the more focused you tend to be. So you do tend to excel in all areas if you're keeping your body and your mind going all the time.
No, that's a great answer, mate. And I'm sure that's going to be very useful. And I think a lot of our athletes are like yourself. They rely on Uber mum or Uber dad to run them around everywhere. And yeah, that's a great answer. Now, final one we've got for you. And this actually comes from a male in Brisbane. He's actually one of my staff members. And he wanted to know, after Worlds, what are your plans with your karate? Are you going to carry on, and you're going to carry on competing? And if so, what is the plan? When would you stop competing? And if you're not going to carry on after Worlds, what's the next move with karate and for Katherine?
Yeah, so Worlds is every 3 years. So the next one will be in Japan, which is kind of the goal. But of course, anything can happen in 3 years. So we'll go short term. I think my next goal would be like my 3rd Dan, and that hopefully would be next year. Usually there are 2 options. We can either do it, there's once a year we can grade in Australia, or we can also go to Japan and grade as well. So there's two options there, and I think that's probably the next goal for me. It's been about 5 years since I took my 2nd Dan, so I'm ready to go, ready for number 3.
Amazing, mate. And talking about kicking goals, we've just recently announced we've got some people who are going to be joining Euro Football Star and helping us on this side of the camera, doing some of our social media and content and TV back to Australia. And we've recently just taken on an amazing Q Jallians, who's an ex-Champions League player, World Cup star, and an Olympian. And I believe that we can happy to announce that you're going to be joining us on some of our trips in the future as well. Is that true?
I think that's been agreed. Yeah.
Very good.
Surprise.
So we're excited, yeah, to have Katherine on board. One of the things that we're trying to do at Euro Football Star for all our families and listeners joining in, we don't just want to bring it from a football angle. We want to consider everyone as an athlete, and there's a lot of things that we can learn from coming from different industries and sport. And we thought we'd need a really good, strong role model for our female clientele, and we thought it would be great to get Katherine involved. So we'll announce a little bit more around that in the coming weeks and months, and we are very, very excited to get you on board with us, Katherine, and get you on some of our trips and help us, and get you on this side of the camera so I can have a little bit of a break from it. So it'll be great to have you on board.
I'm super excited too. I'm not sure how much of a break you're going to get, but we'll try.
Yeah, no, that's great. But a big thank you, Katherine, for joining us from Brisbane today, and we appreciate your time, and we wish you luck for the Worlds in Hungary, and I'll be keeping in touch and seeing how you're going along, and we'll keep our followers updated, and then hopefully at the end of August, September, when we're in the UK, we can do a post live together and talk a little bit about your World experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for having me again, all the way from Istanbul.
Thanks, Katherine. Thanks for joining us, and a big thank you to all our followers and listeners. Watch this space, guys. We've got more videos, more online social media posts that's going to be going live in the next 24 hours. And as you can see behind me, they are getting prepared for the world's biggest game in football. It's going to be coming live in front of 350 million people on Saturday evening from Istanbul at 10 p.m. And we have got a big festival and a big party that's going to be going on the next few days. Stay tuned, guys.